So today we're here in Back to Basics, and today's show is going to be about jams and jellies and preserves and vinegars and all kinds of really great additions that you can add to your life. These are not things that are brand new. These are things that we've had around for years, but I have a special guest here today, and her name is Patti Pops. She's from Cheshire Garden, and she has a special way of making all of these products that you can just tell how much love is in these products. So, Patti, what I would like people to know is that you've been doing this for a real long time.
I have been. I grew up with raspberries. My mother was a gardener, and there are pictures of me at age 3 pushing my little wheelbarrow with weeds. And so she grew all kinds of fruits and vegetables and flowers and herbs. One of my jobs was picking Japanese beetles off of the raspberries.
It's a very
early
important
on.
job.
It's a very important job.
Yes, it is.
And it also teaches you not to be so afraid of crawly things, yes.
Oh,
And
that might come up later.
I
Okay.
think it might, yeah. So I love raspberries. That was my favorite thing of everything that she grew, but also cucumbers and tomatoes, and she put up a lot of food, just as she's 93, so just as a lot of people of her generation did, and actually still gardens and still cooks for herself. So she was my inspiration.
Right, right. You were lucky.
I was lucky.
Yes, yeah.
And
I mean, because when you're a child and you're able to get out and have your hands in the dirt and be out where things are alive, it makes such a difference.
I was so lucky. I feel so grateful that that was my upbringing, was with good real food, good homemade bread all the time, homemade cookies, and we didn't have anything store-bought. Well, I mean, a little bit, but, you know, basically it was
you're a lucky kid.
all homemade.
Yeah.
And then I went off to college and studied, as an undergraduate, I studied animal behavior and then studied insect behavior. And I also always took a lot of botany and plant soil classes because I loved them so much. It didn't even really feel like anything that I needed to study.
So you just slid right into this.
Be there.
And isn't that wonderful?
I
You
just
don't have
loved
to do it. You do it
plants.
because you want to.
Yeah. I just always loved growing things and seeing the growth.
So you knew from a very young age that you wanted to be a farmer, or what
Oh, no,
direction
of course,
did you think you wanted to be?
I thought I was going to be a Bond girl. I thought I was going to be James Bond's, you know, a spy or something, or a movie star, or, you know, I did not think I was. In fact, little old ladies would come and walk around my mother's gardens, and they'd say, "Are you going to be a gardener?" Oh no, it's too much work. But then when I got off to college, as I said, the classes that I had in botany, that was always my refuge. I went to UMass, which was a great big university, but I had a botany class first semester freshman year, and there were greenhouses, and it was lush all year long. And no matter what was happening in whatever I was majoring in at the time, that was the refuge of the greenhouses.
Right. And I can completely relate to you, because there's something about being outside and in the gardens or in the greenhouses where it smells so good and the humidity is there.
The earth.
That's what it is. Yeah, you can smell the dirt.
And I think there's been recent studies that the smell of earth is actually really beneficial to you. There are probiotics in earth that are good for us all, and it's healthy. It doesn't just like rain feels healthy and good to us, so does breathing nice, good soil.
Yeah, that connection.
Yeah,
wow. So you are in Winchester, New Hampshire.
Yes.
And how did you get there?
Oh, we're not on farmland. I had a farm in Leiden, Massachusetts, and then I got divorced and came to Winchester, fell in love with an old friend. And so we're on top of a mountain of granite and gravel, and it's really not good soil for much.
Underneath. Yeah, way down below.
But one thing that gravel gives you is good drainage. Right. So you can make beds, and over the years we've put in, you know, hundreds and hundreds of feet of raised beds and planted all kinds of raspberries, blackberries, currants, elderberries, and then a small orchard, and we've done it all by putting good composted soil where the plants are,
Right.
and then all around every place else there's nothing.
But it makes a huge difference. And what you've done is absolutely amazing. If you ever have a chance to come out to that area, it's absolutely beautiful. And to me, it's like being in a park. It's just so relaxing to take a walk through your yard. And now, the we part of it, who is the we?
Oh, my husband, Ralph, who has worn many hats. He worked for several years as a chef. He's a very good cook. He's the man who came up with the mustard recipes. And he then also worked as a builder. And his passion, besides food, is recycling. So the house that he built for us has a lot of recycled features. It has a slate roof that he took off a barn in Western Massachusetts. We have a old clawfoot bathtub, and various pieces of wood were salvaged from other jobs and from old things. One of his passions is jiffy buildings. He builds a modified arch truss buildings made out of recycled pallets. And so we have 3 or 4 equipment storage. On a farm you want to have everything undercover.
Right. Well, he had inspired my husband because we now have a pellet shed made out of pallets.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's one of the most beautiful buildings that I've seen. We don't have the slate roofs, which I really, really wanted, but we had to go with what we could recycle. I think it cost him $40 to build the shed, and this is a really, really nice shed.
It is. I've seen pictures. Isn't that great?
Yeah,
I know.
So
I love it. People throw away. People burn pallets. Isn't that awful?
I know. And they could be building with them.
They could be building.
Yeah.
So that's his passion. But he has taken to farming. He does all of the tractor work and all of the soil moving and that kind of thing.
And you've trellised a lot of your land so that you can grow on it.
Yeah.
So let's see. And then you had your mother, and you've done canning, and raspberries. Raspberries are my favorite too. So I can see how you'd have a passion for those. Let's see, what else? Besides those, let's see, you've got long beds, you've got your greenhouse. You've also got solar.
Yes, we have a photovoltaic system. What we do, because I sell all of my fruit as preserves, I'm too busy in the summer to actually put it all into preserves at that time. We're picking sometimes 90 pints of raspberries a day, and that just about kills me.
Right.
With help.
Yeah.
So I weigh everything, double bag it, and freeze it. And we actually, in a good year, we fill 7 freezers, and we run them off of photovoltaics to help mitigate the energy use. And so most of doing taxes, most of the electric bills run around $45 a month.
That's
so that's
really great.
pretty lucky.
Yeah, with 7 freezers. That's a lot of freezers going.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your grounds healthy? Insects, weeds, things like that. Porcupines.
Porcupines are the bane of my existence. Insects and weeds are nothing. Insects and weeds, for that, a lot of good compost in the soil. The healthier your soil is, then the healthier the plants are, and the better able they are to withstand attacks from insects in general.
Right.
And then there are just things I know that a certain insect, a plum curculio, is going to be out after bloom in the apples, and to spray a clay, kaolin clay, on the trees at that time keeps them from laying eggs. The curculio, the beetle, doesn't like to lay eggs because the clay is on the plant. So, and that's really all they need. So there are things that I know that way, and a lot of insects, like the Japanese beetles, hand picking, and that's another thing I've learned. They show up around the 4th of July, and if you start hand picking every day for the first couple of weeks, you will have a lot less trouble with Japanese beetles because they have an aggregation pheromone. One calls to another, to another, to another. So the more that you can get them picked off and into a bucket of soapy water, they won't be able to call to others. But if you miss them, then it will really build up and become unmanageable.
Right.
So a lot of insect control is going through all of your gardens every day, or as much as you can, and looking and crushing caterpillars that you see and that are eating broccoli or whatever.
And we have chickens.
Oh,
so
lucky you.
the chickens really love all of the bugs, any
They
kind
do.
of things that you can give to them.
A lot of people with chickens, with an orchard and chickens, will put the chickens in the orchard after they've taken out the apples, and if there have been any drops and the cuculio have come out of the dropped apples, and then the chickens will just clean everything up.
Wow, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So, how do you get the flavor? I mean, your jams and preserves are so different than a lot of the other companies that I've tasted before. Every bite is wonderful, and we'll talk a little bit about your elderberry syrup. That's my favorite. But I love all of them. But the raspberry, of course, raspberry currant preserve is one of my favorites. Tell me a little bit about how do you do this? Yeah,
my mother makes her jams the old-fashioned way, which is by not using any pectin added to the fruit. So it's the old-fashioned way. You just cook the fruit and boil off the water until it thickens. And if you do that, you can cut the sugar in half, because the modern way of using packaged pectin, either in a bottle or a powder, require an awful lot of sugar, and even the low sugar pectins still require a lot more than I use. So that's basically, it's picking the fruit when it's really ripe, so it's got all the flavor, and then cooking it with as little sugar as possible, as fast as possible, stirring, stirring, stirring.
And gently and slowly is what I understand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're really putting a lot of care into it when you're making your products.
One of my friends who helps me out calls it a certified neurotic farm, because
everything has to be perfect.
Everything has to be perfect.
Picked at the peak of freshness.
Yeah. And that's for something like the raspberries, we pick every single day, because a raspberry that's ready on Tuesday is overripe on Wednesday.
Right.
And anything that's overripe is also going to attract insect pests. And it's really important in an organic situation to not have overripe fruit hanging. It will attract insects, and also mold will spread.
So
I'm
what should you
neurotic
do
about
when you do
that.
find just for the home gardeners, what should you do when you do find an overly ripe fruit?
Cull it, pick it anyway, and then, so you get it out of there, and then dispose of it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. So today you also brought some sprouts with you.
Yes.
So I would love to hear a little bit more about what you're growing here.
Okay, well, this is just for fun, and what I like about sprouts is that everybody can do them. I would love everybody to be able to grow their own food, and I know everybody can't, but sprouts you can do in an apartment, you could do in a dorm room, you can do just about anywhere.
Right. And these are not something that you sell.
No,
but you're just encouraging people to try.
I want people to grow their own
Excellent.
food. I want them to do this. So,
So what kinds of seeds do you use for something like
well,
this?
I just get these from the co-op. This is High Mowing, which is a great company out of Vermont. So it's local and organic. And this is Botanical Interests. And they both tell us how to do them, but these guys had a nice little video. So I'm kind of showing you.
So this is very complicated.
This is very complicated stuff. Actually, when I took a class in organic gardening at UMass, this was one of our first labs. And my best friend and roommate was a pre-med major, and boy, did I feel like I was getting away with something doing this while she was doing
all of her studying.
Organic chemistry or something.
Right.
So 1 tablespoon of seeds. And this, as I said, this is a nice sandwich booster blend. So say you wanted to do this at home. Start on a Monday, for instance. You put 1 tablespoon of seeds in, and then you fill the jar.
And do you like to do it in a quart jar?
Halfway. Yeah, I like to do it in a quart jar.
Okay.
And that's just about halfway, with nice clean water.
And do you have a well?
I do. We have a wonderful deep, deep well.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, I'm going to use this lid for a little bit.
So this is a regular covered lid.
This is a regular lid, yep. And I like to do this just because it's fun, and I like to think that the seeds like it. You know, give them a little bit of agitation, move them around for a bit, give them
It's
a
like a snow
shaking.
globe.
Yeah, and that's really all you have to do. Leave them here for about 8 hours. So if you do it in the morning,
And does it matter if
toward
it's in the
end of
sun
day.
or
No,
not?
I like to do this and keep it next to my kitchen sink. So about 8 hours.
Okay.
After 8 hours, you would put on this.
And that's a screen
And
lid?
this is a screened lid, so you can just turn it upside down, drain it in your sink, and then I keep it upside down in a little saucer, and I keep it next to the sink because once or twice a day, you're going to want to, once again, add a half a cup of water, give it a little shake, and then turn it upside down.
You're going to add another half a cup?
You're going to
Okay.
keep doing that
I see.
twice a day for about 5 days. And these are some that I did yesterday. And if you look,
Wow.
Jody, you can see that they have sprouted.
Yeah.
They've all popped open, and
Yeah.
there are little tiny roots coming out.
Right.
So that was just in one day.
One day.
Usually, you'll see in about 8 hours, you'll see them start to crack.
Yep.
And that's when you know you can drain it. So
Wow.
this is yesterday's. And so you keep this on your counter, and twice a day for about 4 or 5 days. After 4 or 5 days, you will have a really nice long root.
So how long
and
are
you'll
those?
just be getting the greens.
Uh-huh.
When you start to see a little green, then you put it in the windowsill just for one day, and that's when the energy really pops out.
Right.
So you get some energy from the roots, but when you put it in the sun for that one day, and then these actually I've been eating for a few days.
Yeah. So how old would those be? Like a week and a half?
Just about a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They grow so fast.
And it's just, would you like some, my dear? Take a little.
Thank you.
Take a little
Yeah.
pinch. I just had a sandwich with them before I came.
I love greens.
And they're so delightful, especially this time of year after winter.
I could eat a sprout sandwich. Brando's used to have a sandwich called a green monster way a while back. And it was everything green. Avocado, sprouts, just anything that was green. It was
I think
delicious.
it's what
Oh,
our body longs
I
for
crave
in
this.
the spring.
Yeah, especially in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you haven't had green. So yeah.
This is something everybody can do at home.
Right. And any time of the year.
Any time
And-
of the year,
yeah.
all year long.
Right.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've got to go out and at least go to the store, go get the seeds, get the jar, and get started.
Yeah, it's all very easy. I think these lids are at the co-op. I think they're $3.95. You can use cheesecloth, of course, and an elastic band. But hey, that's so easy.
Oh, yeah.
And reusable.
Yeah.
And then just after about 5 days, they're done, and you keep them in the fridge, and they'll last at least a week in the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So there's nothing to worry about putting them in the fridge. How long will they last? I mean, like just a week or so, and then
I think they would probably last longer. But
okay. But
if we say a week,
well, you should
we're
eat them in a
golden.
week. You should eat them in a week
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah. So, Patti, going back to you, when you were 20, you probably didn't garden the same way that you do now,
No.
or 30 or 40 or whatever age you were at. How did you start when you first got to the property? How did you get started?
Well, with my first farm, I actually had farmland, and I was used to having, big long big fields. And in Winchester, our land was so steep that we decided to carve in the terraces. And our land isn't really well suited for lots of pumpkins and cantaloupes and that kind
Right.
of thing. But it is very good for herbs and berries and things that don't demand a lot. And also, I had been doing farmers markets from my Western Massachusetts farm into Boston, and I was welcomed back, but especially because I had things that the other farmers didn't have.
Right.
And that was the herb vinegars and the fruit vinegars, and the fact that I was turning what I was growing into something and selling that.
Right.
So it wasn't competing with any farmers who were already on board.
Yeah.
And that I did that for many, many years. And Ralph did the markets too. as I got older and tireder, it didn't seem necessary to go into Boston 3 times a week. So I now happily come into Keene.
Right, that's excellent. And then besides that, you have a bunch of different places that you sell to. I took this off from your website. You have, there's a place in Cambridge, Mass still, and then another one in Amherst, and then more locally, the Bridges Inn, Canterbury Shaker Village, I love.
Oh, aren't they wonderful?
They are. They are. Crescendo Acres, Hannah Grimes, the Ingenuity Shop, Inn at East Hill Farm, Orchard Hill Breadworks, Rosalie's Garden, and Winter Hill Farm in Hillsborough, and I'm sure that there's a lot more. And then, of course, the Keene Farmers Market.
The Keene Farmers Market and the Monadnock Food Co-op.
Oh, yeah, right. I meire it's everywhere now. So, but you do have a website, and your website is?
CheshireGarden.com.
Okay, and that's CheshireGarden.com, not Gardens, Cheshire Garden, because I know that I've made that mistake before. And you also have, a brochure here, but you also have all of these products available on your website.
Yes.
Besides jams and jellies, you have mustards, you have oils, vinegars.
Vinegars.
Let's see, what else do you have? I've got a bunch. You know,
there are
off the top of your head.
a couple of cookbooks that we've been featured in. One is Cooking from Farms of New England, which is from Henrietta's Table, Fresh and Honest. The other one is, well, there's Raising the Salad Bar, and also Green's Glorious Greens from a wonderful chef on Martha's Vineyard who has focused on she really loves our raspberry vinegar. She called it the gold standard of raspberry vinegars.
Nice. And who would have thought? You know, seriously.
Really, it's, as far as the recipes for those things, that was just trial and error and playing in the kitchen. The mustard's the same thing, and we finally got a master recipe that we liked. But elderberry syrup, because that's what elderberries want to be.
They want to be syrup?
They do.
I will make them syrup.
I was trying my damnedest to make elderberry preserve, and they won't set up for love or money.
Right.
They just want to be syrup, so I let them be syrup.
And that's okay, because they are delicious. And, you know, I've always, not always, but since I've known you and started using these, I drink the elderberry syrup when I think that I'm getting a cold in the winter. And maybe it's psychological, I don't know, but it tastes good anyway. And I'll take a tablespoon, and the next day, I'm not sick.
It just worked for me, the same thing. I did a farmer's market, and there were a lot of sniffly people, and I was feeling pretty sniffly, and I took some that night, and I took some the next day, and I said, I fought this.
Yeah. And the other thing that I like about the elderberry, too, is the flowers. You can make them, is it not a fritter, but what do you do with them?
Yeah, an elderberry fritter is one of the things. You can, elderflower fritter, I guess they would call it. And also, you can make an elderflower liqueur, you can make elderflower tea. A lot of the health benefits with the berries are also in the flowers. And next year I'm going to experiment with the flowers a little more. Nice. And that's the one good thing about, well, farming and evolution. Like I said, with my first farm, I had, you know, I was lugging big cases of pumpkins, which, you know, 4'10", that's just really not my forte.
Right.
Now I've got little tiny berries. And as I get older, I'm evolving more. I'm looking at all of the wild herbs on the land, things like sarsaparilla and St. John's wort and Japanese knotweed and bugleweed. A lot of these are healing herbs, so I'm learning about those as well. They want to be there.
That's right.
Yes.
So why not?
Yeah. So, and you know, the bugleweed, for years I've been pulling it out of the raspberries, and then I just learned last winter it's really good at fighting one of the tick-transmitted diseases, not Lyme disease, but another one. So there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that I like when I visited your gardens too is you have some very innovative ways of keeping birds out, because I think you probably have some very healthy birds from eating all your elderberries. But you know, you've got netting up and things like that, because people don't think about the fact that the birds eat a lot of berries.
Right. All of the blueberries need to be netted, and some years, I think one of the years you came, we were netting the strawberries. If you have very few fruits, the birds will wipe you out. If you have a lot, they'll take a small amount.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that people really have to pay attention to. So we've got some shows, some photos going right now of the gardens, and you know, it's just a beautiful way of going.
Those are the garlics with some tomatoes in the foreground.
Right. And everything, I just love it because everything is so green.
Lavender.
Yeah. And you can see the
photovoltaic panels are in the background there.
Right. So so do you have a special preserve that you like best, or what has really inspired you?
I love them all, but the reason why I do it all is raspberries. You can't just grow one thing and survive.
Right.
And so I do it all for the love of raspberries.
Yeah. Oh, I feel the same way. I don't know where I got it from, but I eat raspberries every day. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. So again, your website is?
CheshireGarden.com.
Okay, great. And people can contact you on your website and ask questions and find out more about all of the different products that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. And so today we have been talking about preserves. Now, these I would kind of think that they would be preserving us because these are really good for us.
Yeah.
You're not using as much sugar. You're not using the pectin. The mustards are delicious. All of these products.
Everything's all organic. The fruit and the sugar I need to buy, the mustard seeds I need to buy, all organic. The honey comes.
Oh yes.
The honey and the vinegars comes from Jody's bees.
Excellent.
And the honey and the mustards comes from New Hampshire honeybee.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because
it's all local.
We didn't have it this year.
Yeah.
But
Nope. But it's all local. So that's
Yes.
what's really important. So today we have been on Back to Basics, and I'm really happy that you joined us, and happy that you joined us, Patti. The way that I would like to leave us today is like always. I want you to try to love your life, live it well, and be grateful, because there's so much that we have in our lives that we just take for granted, and we just don't sit down and relax and enjoy everything that we have. So, Patti, is there anything else that we've missed?
I would just echo your sentiments on being grateful. Even something like the water. We're so lucky in New Hampshire. We have such good water. You look at how California people are struggling.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you again in Back to Basics. Thank you.
Yay.